This time we're going to call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Anson. Here. Trustee Doral.
Here.
Trustee Myers.
Here.
Trustee Walsiger.
Here.
Trustee Ludke. Here. Trustee Connor.
Here.
President Vanderstel.
Here. If you'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Trustee Myers.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What's the vouchers? I am not up yet. Can you see it? At this time, do we have anybody that wants to speak in public comments? Yeah, thanks. There is no one that wants to speak in public comments. Our first item of consideration, our first item tonight would be a consideration of a motion to approve the village board minutes of the March 8th meeting.
Also moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the March 8th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have on our agenda is a consideration of a motion to approve the vouchers for payments in the amount of $134,845.01.
I make a motion to approve the vouchers in $134,845.01.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the vouchers in the amount of $134,845.01. Discussion. Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
That motion is carried. The next item we have our consideration of a motion to approve an operator's bartender's license.
I make a motion to approve the bartender's licenses for Lucy Miller and Elizabeth Sokolman.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the bartender's licenses. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Those licenses will be granted. The next item is consideration of a motion for a street use permit for Beer Snobs Ale and Eats at 122 Cottonwood Avenue for events on June 19th, August 21st, and September 25th.
I make a motion to approve the application for street use for Beer Snobs for the said dates.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the street use permit for the said dates of June 19th, August 21st, and September 25th. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Permits will be granted. The next item we have is the second reading of a bill for an ordinance 808-2021, an ordinance amending 46-978 of the Village of Hartland Code of Ordinances, regulating signs permitted in all districts without a sign permit. This item was, this is the second reading. This item was sent to the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission did send it back to the village board, saying it was to their liking on a 6-1 vote. There was one member, Commissioner DeCourcy Bauer, simply said that he did not, he didn't understand why, with it being political signs, why the content of anything on the sign, he wanted to make sure that nothing is related to content, meaning by preserving free speech, we can't pick and choose which signs we're saying, hey, we'll allow that, or hey, we won't allow that. And he didn't understand why we were just keeping it to political signs. But our attorney has reviewed this and did help in writing them. But if anybody has any other questions on that, please feel free to.
I'd like to suspend the rules and vote on this election at this time, in the second reading.
Okay, you could, so your motion,
Make
you're
a
making a motion to
motion,
suspend the rules?
Suspend the rules?
I'll second.
It's been moved, the motion's been made to suspend, it's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules, allowing, which would allow for a vote, since those rules are suspended on the second reading, but to suspend the rules. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The rules are suspended.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the regulations for sign permits for all districts within the sign permit.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve a bill for an ordinance 808-2021, an ordinance amending 46-978 of the Village of Hartland Code of Ordinances regulating signs permitted in all districts without a sign permit. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That ordinance will be adopted and the proper steps will be taken, which means that that'll be effective in sometime within the next 2 weeks. It has to get sent over to the newspaper, and also there's a certain period of time that we have to allow on that, so. The next item we have is a first reading of ordinance repealing 10-206 through 10-232 of the Village of Hartland Code of Ordinances regulating public dances and concerts. Do you want to give some update on that?
Sure.
Or just a,
Sure, the intent, village staff was able to forward the special event, the new proposed special event permit to the village attorney's office for review and consideration based on items that either need to be amended. In this particular case, we need to repeal some of the items of the code to make room for what will be the new code section that which is the next item on the agenda, the amendment of the code section to add in the special event permit. So these items are being repealed and taken out, and then the next section is amending items to make room for the special event permit. So this would be the first reading. If there's any questions or comments, this would be a good time for any adjustments or tweaking. And clearly this item goes with the next item. They're two different items because they're two different ordinance changes, but they are kind of tied at the hip.
okay. No one has anything to say on that, I presume, since we're not hearing anything. So that first reading has been completed. Now we have items, we have the first reading of an ordinance amending chapter 78-56 through 78-62 of the Village of Hartland Code of Ordinances regulating street use permits.
Again, second part to this, which basically fixes amends and changes the street use item to allow for our special event permit that we've discussed about and proposed. So this is the second part that kind of then cleans up that portion. Again, I think it's worth noting of the permits that will stay, we are still going to keep what we refer to as the small special street use permit, which is for your block parties. So those are for your very small events, a handful of people, neighborhood, cul-de-sac type of events. Haven't had a problem with that, so not broken, not looking to make any changes to that one. But then the rest of the item would be amended to make room for the special event permit.
Thank you. Seeing as we haven't heard anything, we'll consider that the first reading, and we'll move to our next item of business. Our next item is a consideration of a motion to approve a Cousins application for a site building modification for an upgraded drive-through for Cousins Subs at 525 Cottonwood Avenue. This was referred to us from the Plan Commission at the last meeting. I think you said that someone was here.
Yep, plans and specs were in the packet. We are joined by Cousins, the Cousins Sub Project coordinator. There was one item asked at the Plan Commission, which was larger caliber trees in the southern median. What was the determination on the total size of the caliper now?
We took those from 1.5 inch caliper up to 2.5 inch caliper. That's what our landscaper recommended for maintaining growth and being able to work in those smaller islands and be able to sustain and hopefully prosper.
So that was one recommendation that came out of the Plan Commission. Other than that, the plans are before you this evening.
I have a question. When you pull in, as I looked at the plans, as you pull into order and then you're facing west and you kind of do a half circle to the window, what's going in the middle there? Is that what we're talking, in between the,
Nothing.
that's just
Yep, so
parking lot?
That area needed to remain for traffic movement that was previously granted to neighboring parcels between the bank to the east and the industrial building to the west. There's cross-access easements that we needed to maintain with those adjacent property owners.
But this is like so they
horseshoe.
can go through, right,
Yep,
but then they can drive through your lane of traffic?
correct. So we had a stop sign after
Yeah,
the
I remember
order.
that.
Yep. So for site safety reasons, we proposed 2 islands, one on
Yeah.
each side of the drive-through to kind of segregate that area, and also provide a stop sign with a crosshatch area to kind of make the people ordering the subs and the drive-through have a visual barrier before they cross that potential lane of traffic. We see that traffic lane hardly ever used. It's more there for the convenience of the adjacent properties.
And so there's no room to the south of if you're pulling up to the speaker box, is there any room to the south of that they can go through so they're not driving? What I'm talking about is right here, this right here.
That's purposely left open for.
Well, that's goofy.
For the traffic to get back, because the
Okay.
traffic, the trucks need to
Have to
get
go
back.
back, yeah.
to
But
the
isn't
buildings.
there's a second exit here and then there's one here, right? Entrance?
but
And they
they're-
can't just,
They have a cross easement agreement. And
Okay.
so the businesses need to be able to get
okay,
that.
I meant
So
to ask that at the planning commission and I
I-
didn't think I could because I was on
We
Zoom.
reviewed it.
Okay.
We reviewed it for the turn angles and the size, and it does meet our standards. So
It just seemed kind of,
I'm sure they would much prefer.
yeah, okay. All right, thank you, thank you very much.
No problem.
That'll actually make their property
I didn't
look a lot
understand
nicer.
all that.
No, I looked at it at home. I just think it'll make the property look even nicer.
Well, it makes sense for them to have a drive-through if they've got the window there.
Can I make a motion that we consider the approval of the Cousins application for the site and building modification upgrade for the drive-through?
Second,
Yes, you can make the motion, and it's been moved and seconded to approve Cousins' application for site building modifications for an upgraded drive-through for Cousins Subs at 525 Cottonwood Avenue. Discussion?
Your motion, trustee Myers, would include the increased size of caliber trees for the southern median area, correct? Because that was in the recommendation.
I can't hear.
She has said, is your motion including the 2.5 caliper instead of the 1.5 caliper trees, or is your motion just to approve the plans that were put forward?
I thought the 2.5 caliper was part of it.
That was suggested
That
from the
was a
plan
suggested
commission.
part, and that's part.
Yeah, it was
then
just
you're-
a suggestion, that's why I'm asking.
Yes, yes, it does include
And
it.
we agree to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other items of discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, members.
All right. The next item we have is discussion and consideration of a motion to request a pay receipt for Nixon Pond dredging.
Dave Faulkner, DPW. I'm here because CW Preparo is seeking their second payment request for the sum of $38,116.50. This payment is for the barricades, dewatering, excavating, and hauling the material out from the pond. I will give you a little status update on it. They were out there today. 90% of the pond restoration is done, so they should be finishing it, well, weather permitting, this week. And the dewatering is going slowly. There's still water standing on top of the pond dredging material, so we'll have to either get a backhoe back in here and loosen it up a little bit, see if the water can drain. But I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. So the staff is recommending payments to CW Papero for the sum of $38,116.50 for the work completed.
Dave, if we have to get, I'm sorry. If we have to get a backhoe and do something, is that part of the contract with them, or do we pay for
It
that?
is CW Papero's responsibility.
And so it won't be any extra money?
will not.
Okay, thank you.
Did they have a length of time to straighten out that pile of
The-
particular mud?
So the DNR wants it.
It has to be
all
sold.
they said in the permit is that it's spread out and seeded in a timely manner. That was part of our permit.
Okay, so is that included in the payment
It
here?
is,
Or are
correct.
we holding back some of that for that?
We still, even after the project's finished, we have a 1-year warranty on it.
Okay, thank you.
In years past, when we've had the piles, how long is it before it's dried out enough to start getting seed on there? Soil and seed.
This is the first time we've done it over the winter. Usually we do it in the spring and,
Yeah.
and it's spread out because with the sun having more power,
Yeah,
it dries out a little faster in this. So we're hoping for sun and wind. That's what
okay.
we're hoping for.
I mean, is there a time frame in the past? Has it,
Month and a half.
okay, all right.
The areas we put it in before, well, the last area was between the tennis courts and the back of the baseball diamond. It was a bigger area, so we could spread it out thinner. This area is a little more confined, so it's a little thicker.
Right, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the payment for $38,116.50 to CB Pavero, Inc. for the work completed to the state for Nixon dredging.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the request for payment for the Nixon Pond dredging discussion. Mr. Faulkner, I do have one question, because I can't, I'm not sure. What did we budget? I know we came in under budget. What did we budget? And then this is the 38,000. Do you recall? I thought it was 50 or 60.
I thought it was like 52. What's that?
Oh, okay. I don't know.
It came in way under, but
Okay. I was just wondering. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item is discussion and consideration and a presentation to approve an award of the 2021 paving program.
So the Village of Hartland puts out its paving projects out for bid every year. For this 2021 paving project, we had 3 companies bid on it. The low bid was Wolf Paving Company Incorporated. They came in at $759,832.70. We did budget $900,000 for this project, so it came under. The roads being paved this year are some pretty critical roads. It's East Capitol, North Avenue, and South Industrial Drive. Added to this will be that path off Lawn Street by the firehouse, the part of it that's kind of settling into the river. So that's part of this project as well. So we brought along Pete Gesh from Rupert and Melky. He'll explain a little bit more about the paving process for East Capitol and North Avenue.
So as Dave mentioned, my name's Pete. I work with Rupert and Milky, right alongside Ryan on the majority of the projects. I actually manage the majority of the CIP projects, so working directly with Dave and the rest of the staff to make sure that they get done smoothly and correctly. So as Dave mentioned, we're doing East Capitol and North Avenue this year as part of the 2021 paving program. These roads were identified in the CIP and as part of the pavement management program that we put together. They met the criteria for rehabilitation, and one of our goals was to extend the life of the pavement to, do you remember what button it was that switched it over?
Ben, was it control what?
Just hit Alt-Tab. Alt-Tab. So looking at this map that I handed out, you can see the project area. Project Area A is what we're going to call it, is from Maple Avenue to the intersection on East Capitol Drive, and Project Area B is going to be from North Avenue or from East Capitol Drive on North Avenue to just south of State Highway 16. And like I said, the goal of this is to rehabilitate the roadway and also extend it a certain amount of time where it matches up with the age of the water main that's in North Avenue. So a typical pulverized overlay would have extended it about 25, 30 years. The mill and overlay that we're going to be doing extends it about 10, 15 with proper crack sealing and whatnot. So through the planning and design of this, we tried to identify three main things to focus on. Those were to rehabilitate the road, to minimize impacts to the businesses on North Avenue and East Capitol Drive, and to provide communication to everybody throughout because it is such a high impact area. By our condensed schedule that we've set forth in the contract documents, we're really aiming to narrow down the time frame that the work is going to be happening. So typically on a pulverize and overlay, it's a longer duration versus a mill and overlay. There's still a lot of moving parts, but it's a much shorter duration. And speaking with staff in our office and everything, we've actually condensed that down to about 6 days per roadway. So it's going to be quick, and that's all in the bidding documents so that the contractors are held to it. Obviously, weather depending, fingers crossed that it doesn't rain in May, but that's the goal. So we've extended our normal working hours as well to Sunday through Friday, so we're staying out of that peak hours on Friday evening, Saturday when downtown's the busiest. Normal working hours on our projects are typically 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We've taken that from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. now on Mondays through Thursdays, and limited it to 4 p.m. on Fridays if needed and Saturdays if needed, so that we're not, there in the heart of your Friday fish fries or anything like that. We have allowed paving and striping to happen on if the contractor needs to fit it in their schedule to get it in those 6 days overnight. So that might happen Thursday night or Wednesday night. And if you flip over your handout that I got here, I tried to identify a lot of the pieces of work that you're going to be seeing down there. So like I said, it is a less intrusive version of rehabilitation on your roadways. But there are still a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of coordination that's going to take place. So the schedule that we've identified and to fit minimize impacts to the businesses and everything downtown is to have concrete guys come in and do very minimal curb work. On a mill and overlay, you're looking for the areas of curb that are really depressed or not draining water appropriately, because the ultimate goal of your mill and overlay is to get water off the road and into the storm sewer. So when we come through with the mill and then pave it and we reestablish that crown, we want to make sure that we are getting the water off and then the curb's fine to get it into the storm sewer. So in the first 2 weeks before we really touch the roadways, there's going to be some limited parking downtown, some impacts to that. It's not going to be a whole lot of curb and gutter getting replaced. Like I said, we're just trying to hit those problem areas. So that's in your upper left-hand corner here. You're going to see a lot of that work going on. And then starting on a Sunday, and sometime in the beginning of May, we haven't narrowed down or exacted the schedule yet. We got to do that with the pre-construction meeting that we have with our contractor. You're going to see a big mill machine come in. The roadway is going to be relatively open to traffic, but lots of flagging going on, and they're going to strip off that top layer of pavement. That same day, they're going to set up traffic control. We're going to do North Avenue will be open for traffic in both ways, but actually on East Capitol Drive, we're going to do a one-way going from west to east. So we're doing that because there's a lot of structure adjustments that have to get made. When you mill off the top pavement and then you're reestablishing that crown of the roadway, you get to raise some of those structures up. So we are going to be doing one way on one side of the road, and then once structures are done on that side, we'll swap that to the other side. And the goal is to keep flow to local traffic only through downtown. There's the daycare, grandma's house, I think, on the east end, and then a couple businesses too that we don't want to completely shut them off with traffic and patrons going to their businesses. So you'll see some of this rehabilitation methods here, just about a 6x6 or a 7x7 square around some manholes just to raise them up. They'll be slurried back in and then they'll be patched. There's going to be some base patching going on, which are what these middle two pictures are here. And the goal of that is to take out some of the very problem base areas underneath. So you're still going to have that lower level of asphalt that's there. So on a pulverized and overlay, you're probably used to it being more like gravel-like. This is going to be still a pavement surface. It's just going to be the lower layer. And then what we're actually going to do is have a crack sealing company come through and crack seal those cracks that are still in that lower layer. And what that does is it helps prevent some of that reflective cracking is what we call it. So those cracks that start to come through in those first 2-3 years after you put the new surface on. And then this bottom left corner here is what's called PetraTac. And what that is essentially like a Band-Aid. So by crack sealing and then putting this fabric over the top of the cracks, you limit the amount of cracks that come back through. It essentially just holds it together a little bit better. So you end up with a better surface product in the long run. And then after that's completed, they'll come through and they'll pave a new surface on the road. When they pave the new surface, it's going to be quick, but it takes about 8 hours to pave the length of East Capitol Drive and then 8 hours to pave the length of North Avenue. And it's going to be very limited to traffic at that point, so that's likely going to be on a Thursday, is what we're aiming for in our planned schedule. And then once that's done, there's a certain period where that asphalt has to cool down before they come in and do the line striping. And they'll come in, usually at night is when the line striping crews like to operate, so they'll come in at night and they'll have trucks that'll paint the center lines, and they'll have guys working by hand that'll paint the individual parking stalls throughout downtown. So East Capitol and North Avenue are not getting done at the same time. We're going to do them one after the other. So we'll start with East Capitol Drive, we'll get that done, and as soon as that's paved and striped and finished, we'll move to North Avenue, we'll mill that, and we'll do all the same procedures and same methods, and then we'll pave that, stripe that, and then it'll be open to traffic. So the goal is to start on a Sunday with milling, move through all these phases of the work, all these different pictures that you see on this backside here, and then end up with a paved road, a finished road, striped and ready to go for traffic by 3 p.m. on a Friday. And we've vetted that. We believe it's feasible. We've done it on past projects, and obviously weather dependent. We're hoping that it can get done. So some of the other things we wanted to make sure that, like I mentioned, was communication throughout this. So we met with the Business Improvement District here, explained it to them. They were very receptive to it. We explained the same thing I'm talking about right now with the schedule and the methods and all that. Another thing I'm going to be doing is sending out letters to all the businesses, property owners, landlords, residents, things like that. There's a lot of stakeholders in this project area, from business owners to residents to property or to landlords, and we want to make sure that they're all properly notified. And then the last kind of piece to make sure that, you know, as things adapt, the project moves along, is on my notice to residents and businesses. I'm going to have essentially like an opt-in update notification type thing where I'll give my email address. They can opt in by emailing me and saying I want to be on the project update, and either each night after work's completed or the next morning before it starts, I will let them know what we finished and then what we're going to be doing the next day. So ideally everybody's aware step by step throughout those 6 days that the road's disrupted on what did happen, what's happening that day, and what's planned next. With that, if anybody has any questions.
What was the day, weather permitting, when do you plan to start?
So we haven't nailed it down an exact date
Okay.
yet, but the day that we're trying to get this at the end of April to beginning of May. So as COVID vaccines continue to roll out, we want to make sure that, you know, we're not doing this in the heart of summer when you've got all your downtown events and your block parties and things like that. So the concrete work will be throughout the week, Monday through Friday, in 2 weeks prior to us starting Capitol Drive. And then when we start Capitol Drive, it's going to be on a Sunday. And that Sunday, they'll come in with the mill and the traffic control, and they'll start their operations.
Thank you.
As you go on North Avenue there, on the other side, right about the middle of that intersection, there's a dip, and it's a big bump, and I notice we're stopping on this side of that rather
Yep.
than, if you, yeah.
So, we did look at that, we know, and he's talking about this area. Right up here, so we're stopping just short of that off-ramp, and the reason that we're doing that is, we've worked it out with this, well, we've discussed it with the state and with the county on where the village's jurisdictional limits end and where theirs begin. And what we found is that, per their FDM, which is just their code of how they regulate things, they own between the off-ramps, essentially. So the state owns from the south side of the off-ramp to the north side of the on-ramp. And we've asked them about it, we let them know that, hey, we're doing this project, maybe if you've got funds available, you give us funds, we do it with part of our project, it's all, great, and then that whole section's done. Basically what they told us is, their planning process is about a 6-year long fiscal funding process, and this is not on their radar to get that done. That manhole, that is a problem, we did talk to the county about that, and let them know, hey, when we have this road kind of shut down to traffic for the most part, maybe this is a good time to come in and take care of that, and they agreed. So we'll touch base with them again closer to when we start and make sure that they do come out and fix it.
I could see not going through that intersection, that's pretty busy, but
They tried to repair that manhole once, but when they came out and did it, they weren't commingled with the state. That was the same time that they closed down 83 for the decking project. And they came out with all their crews, and there's all the traffic directed to North Avenue, so they couldn't obviously tear open that manhole.
okay, thanks, that makes a lot of sense, and dealing with the state is always so much fun.
Question for you. So that fabric taping that you described that's at the bottom left, is that also done by the same company that does the crack sealing?
It can be. Oftentimes they enlist those people because it happens kind of at the same time period. So they said, hey, maybe we'll pay you a little bit extra. We'll add this onto your contract essentially, and then you do that so that we don't have to bring in extra guys to do that. Because it's essentially another operation that they have to do as they move along right before they start paving.
And then the opt-in process, is that they get text messages or emails?
It'll be emails. We do have the village's e-notification on their website, so we'll be doing that as well for people that would rather get text messages. We'll try to update that as frequently, but this is essentially an email that will come from me. So it's directly from the heart of the project, and I'll be in contact with our inspector and Dave and the contractor and making sure that they're getting the timely updates on what's happening throughout those weeks.
We'll keep the bid notified as well, so we'll contact Michelle daily as well. So she already started to notify some business owners, because I ran into a business owner the other day, and she said thanks for the heads up. She thought it was good that Rupert and Melky showed up at the bid meeting.
Oh, good. And then my final question is you said not only businesses but residents, that you were gonna send out letters, which thank you for doing that, that's phenomenal. Where's the scope of the letters? Is it gonna be all the way up East Capitol, or where are you thinking? Is it just gonna be the people that would receive letters, or just the ones that are in the?
Usually when I aim for getting a list of properties for these types of notifications, I aim for the direct project corridor, and then a couple areas outside for some of those people, maybe just on the corner there on Maple Avenue, or just down the street on East Capitol, who might have impacts, or the people there on Church Street between Lawn and Capitol that are gonna maybe have to change up their daily driving routine. So that's the goal. It'll be a wide area to make sure that we get a lot of people, and those letters will go to they'll go to the address and who's listed on the tax key. So if that's the landlord, we're gonna ask that the landlord distribute that to their residents.
Thank you. Are you done? Yep.
Will you have signs up like a week prior telling people road work to start on whatever?
I'm not sure that we included that in there as part of the Actually, I think
Well, don't we have something we could?
we might.
We could make signs, so we could notify. If not, we can contact the county, maybe we can borrow one of their boards.
People who are on that
Right.
list, they'll know, okay, I can't go to the drugstore this way, I'm gonna have to go park in the back or whatever, and.
We'll post updates on the village website too, but I can definitely, I feel like, I don't remember exactly what the traffic control looks like in that
I'm just
area.
saying that 'cause I know people like my mother's age, she doesn't have a computer, she doesn't text, she doesn't have emails. So for them to see a sign saying, you know, this is gonna be closed from such and such date is helpful to people who don't have access to that.
Let us look into that,
Yeah.
and then if not, I can contact the county, see if we can borrow a couple of them big informational boards.
That would be good.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great, I wasn't even thinking that far.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
You've been doing very well.
Can I make a motion that we approve the award of the 2021 paving program?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the award of the paving program for 2021, North Avenue and East Capitol Drive. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. This was very helpful.
Very helpful.
I
Good
do ask
presentation.
that you include each board member immediately right out of the gate on your updates. Obviously, the board members are gonna get a lot of calls from residents, so that way they have that updated information and they're seeing it live, you know, as it's coming through. Thank you.
All happy calls.
Forward them to Jeff.
We're gonna spread that out. The next item on the agenda is discussion and consideration of the Bark River Bash banner over Capitol Drive.
Bid submitted, Bark River Bash, sign. This is a new event, so this is not listed in our banner policy. They did add the disclaimer that is requested in the policy. But again, this is up to the board if they want to add this event to the overall banner policy, or if they just want to stick with the events that are currently listed as the banner policy.
I actually thought it was approved already because it's under the bid, it falls under the bid umbrella, so. My only question is about the sign itself, is the disclaimer. I just don't think, I just kind of wonder what the purpose of it. It'll be very small, so it's not like people are going to be able to read that, number one. And number two, I mean, I know that we're not sponsoring it, but it adds our views because they come in front of us and we're saying, yes, we approve the event. So to me, that doesn't really make sense because we are approving it. We are saying we're in support of it.
It's in our banner policy that any banner that goes up has that disclaimer. I wasn't here for the banner policy, so I don't know if there was a problem with a past banner, and so this was an idea to you know, fix that issue, or.
I've just never seen it on a banner.
So, are you guys done?
Yeah, I'm done.
So as long as bid is part of whatever, a sign can go up, is that what I'm understanding?
What was that?
As long as the bid is part of whatever, a sign can be put up. Is that what I understand?
As long as the bid
'Cause you
is
said
part of
bid-
like an event?
Yes.
Well,
Is that what I'm understanding?
not necessarily. The bid was one of the bid, the Chamber of Commerce, and there's multiple other ones, and obviously the village. There's certain organizations that out of the gate give them the opening to be able to come and present the banner in front of us.
Right, I'm
So the
looking at
chamber,
this right
they
here.
still come in
Right.
front of us, and we still have a say in it. But for instance, if you're not one of those groups, you're not coming forward with the banner. Does that answer your question at all?
Well, I just don't want to open a can of worms.
Uh-huh.
But I guess, because it says, bid is basically kind of, it says banners will be placed until Hartland bid wants them removed, so they're kind of in charge of it. Is that right?
No, our DPW hangs the banners.
Well, I know they hang it, but it, okay.
We hang it and we take it down.
So we're gonna put that on our list here and make it number 6, is that what we're looking to do?
What?
This, make it an annual deal and put it on our list here?
First, is it even an annual deal?
Well, yeah, I think that's what the the staff is asking, right?
Yeah.
President?
I think they would like it to be an annual event. I don't know, I think they're shooting for that. It's just not listed, I mean, we have the 5 events
Right.
listed that I think are kind of the approved by the village board, don't need approval. This could be a one-time approval, this could be a, hey, if they continue to do it, it can be on the list. Up to the board.
I do see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And the way it's worded.
Yeah.
Where it says banners will be in place until the bid wants them to be, so here's the difference, and I do understand
Yeah.
where it's creating some confusion. If you look at the bold print that says vertical.
Yes.
They're talking about the seasonal signs
I
on the
see that
telephone
now.
poles. The big banner that we're talking about right now that would hang over the street is considered horizontal.
Right, and,
And, yeah, that's not one of the 5 that's on this.
right,
list.
because one of the 5, it seems like it's either the Village of Hartland, the Chamber, or the bid, correct? So because the bid is sponsoring part of this event, we would automatically approve it?
I see what you're saying.
I'm looking at
And maybe,
this
no, I
list.
gotcha. And maybe it's just a different interpretation. You're saying it's not on this list, so we would have to add it to make it eligible?
No, I'm just saying that because this list has the Village of Heartland, the bid, and the Chamber, and this group, because they have brought the bid in as part of their sponsorship, they fall in this category. Is that that's what I'm getting at?
They would fall in that category?
Don's going, yes.
Now, this is my interpretation.
Okay.
And my interpretation of what the board meant, and that would be up to each of us in our own interpretation. The 5 things listed are long-standing annual events that happen all the time.
Right.
Considering that this is a first out of the gate, if this thing's a flop, we wouldn't want it to just hang up there on the list. Now, maybe next year when they're doing it again, they might say, hey, can we have that added, because we're gonna do this over and
Okay.
over. But if the board wanted it on that, I mean, obviously this is you have the final say. The board is the highest authority here. So, I mean, that would be up to the board, but I don't think without knowing how it's gonna go. Again, I think my interpretation is that list of his long-standing things
Right.
that have gone on over and over again. We know they're happening all the time, so it's not just a
I
one-off.
guess that if the bid, a simpler way to put it would be, if the bid wasn't in it, if bid was not a partner in this, and it was just the Kiwanis, is it? Would it be a viable request?
I don't think so. I can't remember if we
That's what I'm
included
trying,
them.
I guess that's an easier way to.
I'd have to look into that. I don't think so,
Okay,
but I'm not positive. I would have to look into that. I don't have that
so
information.
if somebody wants a
I
banner.
can't remember
we need to
which
get the bid going.
organizations we said.
Okay, I like it, all right, thank you.
Anything else? Oh, actually, we're just asking questions right now. We didn't have a motion to be.
We'll make the motion that we approve the sign for the one time and then consider it again next year if the same event would happen.
Second, yeah.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the sign, for this event this year, and they can come back to us next year to approve the banner. Discussion. One thing I do want to say, and this isn't a shot, but I know it might seem that anybody could go and say, hey, bid, say you're sponsoring us and we'd be able to get a banner. I want to make sure that the public knows, people worked very hard, and this board worked very hard on that banner policy. We would have a really short leash on that. If all of a sudden someone came and there was some, I think you know what I mean. And I think that the board intends to, really hold really try to do a good job at interpreting these things. The bid has been involved in that event, but if all of a sudden that started to happen, then an organization like the bid could be like, hey, you know what, you guys, okay, if you're going to do that, then we're just going to pull you off of being able to make that determination.
Good.
Go ahead.
Before, it says the proposed banner does not follow the policy guidelines. Is it too big, or what guidelines is it not following?
I interpret it as that it's not one of the 5.
It's not one of the
not
5
one of the
events.
That's guidelines.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
what they
yeah.
before
Okay,
us.
I just took it as
If it
maybe
was
the
already
size.
listed on here, then it would just be aesthetically, if you like the sign, then
Well,
it's
to me,
approved.
policy guidelines would mean size or something. I didn't understand it that way. And Are we paying to have it put up, or do they pay to have it put up and down?
It's our DPW
Our DBW
Is
puts it up, that was part of
responsible.
when we originally did the banners.
is responsible.
Right, but they still have to be paid.
Well, they're gonna be paid by
Well-
the Village of Hartland.
I thought, didn't we have a per hour or some kind of fee that we charged
No,
at
we,
one time?
we tried to, but that was part of the whole, this brings up another thing, I see where you're going with this. That brings up the 5, is that typically when we were doing these things, these are things that would really helps the entire village. The street dance.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at the list.
know.
There's things where, I mean, not only does the community love it, I'm gonna leave this,
I didn't see it
leave it up to the board. I see what you're saying. I hate to say no, me personally, I hate to say no to the bid. They are part of the village. I hate to say no, but at the same time, I see where you're going, and I would leave that up for discussion with the board. I can't come up with a firm, I understand both sides. If someone said, hey, why are we just
Dave, you wanna
doing
do
this
it
on a
after hours
chance?
for free?
Just the one, this is
Yeah.
just for this one time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
We can make the decisions about all that other stuff next time, if
Yep.
it
Okay.
comes up.
Okay,
Here comes an ambulance.
just questions. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? And now we do have the motion, correct?
Yep.
Last call for a discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is discussion and consideration of an agreement to create a new Village of Heartland logo.
This came up, the bid went through a strategic planning session around the first week of January. I know that because I had COVID and was not there. So during that session, they had talked about obviously different strategies that they want to work on for the year. Idea of a new logo came up for the bid. They went out, got some numbers, looked into some different companies, received this quote. They had heard that the village had also talked about in the past looking at a new logo and wondered if we wanted to partner with them on this process to work on a new logo together. I said I'd be happy to take it to the board. And so the proposal that is a separate attachment because it is a newer version of Adobe than we have, which caused lots of frustration electronically. We won't talk about that. So it's a separate part of the agenda. That proposal is attached, essentially $5,500 for, to go through the process to end up with a new logo. The two logos would be similar, but they would be different with the bid, and so we would split that cost if there was any interest. If there is not any interest, I think the bid is, not offended. They just heard we were thinking about a logo as well and thought we could partner together to get some efficiencies, so I brought this forward.
Had we even talked about what we were gonna do for a logo or anything? I mean, I don't, this is new to me.
Oh, no, the discussion came up before, but it didn't go any farther. I had brought up maybe like 2 years ago just whether we should. It was at the same time when we talked about the board. I mean, I'd asked Arlene, a lot of different, well, we talked about, do we come up with a village flag? Should we have a different village seal? We found out we had the seal, so that is 2 years ago, a year and a half.
Decided to do a logo to do like, the Brewers did a few years back with the glove. I know New Berlin did it too, some of the other communities where you put it out to the community, put it out to Hartland,
that
put
was
it out
gonna
to
be
the
my
high
thing.
school,
Me too.
grade school.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, you got
see
some
if they
great
can come
artists
up
out
with a
there.
new
Yeah,
logo
we do.
for us. And
Yeah.
then
And
it's,
we can do that.
then it's
That
generated
would be a
within
good
Hartland by
Yeah.
somebody that lives here that really cares and.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
That's my
I would-
thought process.
Yeah, that was exactly where I was gonna go with it. I'd rather see our entire community buy in to the process of creating the future. And I completely commend the bid, because if that's what they wanna do and they wanna work with a company, that's great. Like, they're, an entity, but for us, I think having all community buy-in, whether that's schools or residents or businesses,
Yeah.
whoever.
Got some talented people out there.
I
Yeah,
think
we
there's
do.
an opportunity to really work with the community.
So, I don't know if we would actually need a motion, because if we didn't get a motion, then if we didn't get a motion, not emotion, a motion, then we just continue going forward, or would you
It could
prefer?
die. If there's no consensus, I
Just
don't
let
think the
it
bid,
Let it
I
die.
don't think the bid will be offended at all.
Sure. So I think we can just let it go, and I'll wait 10 seconds just for I'll even only wait 5. But if someone wants to make a motion, make it. Considering that there's been no vocal attempt at making a motion, I am going to consider for this board and for this body that not making a motion is an indication that the Village of Hartland would like to consider going just as we've been going, and we wish the bid all the luck in the world as they go on through their endeavors to get a new logo. Announcements. Mr. Faulkner,
Good evening again.
did you take the mouse with you to your seat?
So I could scroll down.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Makes sense.
I want to give you an update on utility projects. The contractor moved in town this morning. It started saw cutting up in Mary Hill subdivision. They'll start excavating curb and manhole around manholes tomorrow morning, and they'll continue that work throughout the village. There was 8 driveways that were going to be affected in Mary Hill. We had our gentleman go door to door last Friday, and they made contact with all 8 people, so they're duly noted. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that, and that this process should last about 2.5, 3 weeks.
And which streets are these?
This, well, all of Mary Hill subdivision with all their feeder roads. Then we're going to do a little work on industrial. We have a little work to do on Imperial between Lindenwood and Wexford, and that is it.
I wouldn't say Mary Hill and all the feeders, because that one feeder goes into the Village of Merton, correct?
Yes, but we do have a sanitary sewer stub there.
Okay, so they are gonna do that also?
Because we didn't know if that was going to be a future.
All of
Yes.
Mary Hill subdivision?
Nope, not
No,
He said the
not
feeder
Mary,
road,
not
that
Mary Hill and Merton, Mary Hill subdivision in Hartland.
Okay, but when you said feeder roads,
So we,
I just was
you
concerned
have
about going to the
the
north.
stub that goes, 2 stubs that go to the east,
yeah,
right? You have Southern Oak,
yes,
and then you have the one that goes into Traditions.
correct. I just was concerned about the one that goes
Shadow Hole.
north.
Yeah,
That
we
you're
are
not
not,
just talking
we are
about
not
that
going
one.
into Merton, we are not.
That's all
Right.
this work is worth.
yeah, just a few manholes.
Okay.
How many total manhole adjustments?
I think there's like 26,
So,
but some of the manholes they're not all sanitary, some are storm sewer manholes. And then there's about 15 storm sewer inlets that are in the curb where we
That
have
don't
to
work.
take the curb out.
this would be pre-work this summer for potential work next year.
For
Yes.
slurry next year.
Yes, we always, for discussion for next year, yes. All right, thank you.
Sir, I have a
Dave.
question.
Yes,
Does that include the drainage on Southern Oak?
the drainage.
Are we adding something there?
We are not.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't part of it.
I was
So
wondering.
we're looking at running a drainage swale behind them houses. Rooker and Melky's still doing some studying on that.
Okay.
We put a temporary concrete patch in this year. I take it back. Last year, it was between Christmas and New Year's.
To get through the winter.
Right.
Yep.
But that concrete pretty much froze, so we'll take that out and put asphalt in to full depth now. And then have to decide what we're gonna do with the paving of that road for next year.
All right. And I'm sorry for, I don't usually have this many questions. We just had brand new reconfiguration put in about 3 years ago, 2 years ago. We're not adjusting any of those manholes,
we are
are
not.
we? I figured not.
No,
That's, I
we
just
are
wanted them, that would not be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be unfortunate if we had to go. Thank you very much.
I have a
Go ahead.
couple quick announcements. In the next couple of weeks, you're going to be hearing a lot about the CARES Act direct payment to municipalities. So as part of the, I think 1.9 trillion, don't quote me if I'm off by a number, money that was allotted from the feds, part of that is a actual first time ever direct payment to municipalities. So bear with the process. It's never been done before, so they are working through how to do that. The dollars keep fluctuating. But it's real money. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars that the Village of Hartland will get. And so, we're keeping an eye on that. It's gonna be a 2-year, payment, so we'll get half of the money in 2021 and the second half in 2022. But that is, that's gonna be a big deal when that actually happens. That's the first time that that's ever happened, and that's a big deal in our world. So we'll pay attention to that. Finishing up the bid documents for this room, we had a couple of tweaking. Our AV expert put his final touches on some of the electronics. And so we will be going out to bid very soon for that project. Two options, while this room is under construction, the library is just in the process of finishing up a community area. I don't know what the official name of it is, but a community space that might work for our boardroom to move there. Or, of course, we have the community center down there. Again, we are deferring, our AV expert is reviewing those two options to see which one in this pro Zoom world will work the best. And then the bid, I just want to mention the bid is still tracking and looking into the bike race. That's an event that a couple of years ago, the village had interest and didn't end up doing, but it's still something that the bid is pursuing possibly for this summer. I don't have any more information on it, other than it would be a Tuesday, it would be during the day, and it would be, you know, they would only do it if it was going to be a large event. The numbers they've talked about would be bringing 10,000 people to the community, outsiders in one day. So that's still going on, but a lot of details to work out. I don't know if it'll happen yet with COVID or anything, but wanted to keep everybody in the loop on that one.
Anybody else?
I have one, just in reflection to Administrator Rhodey, just an announcement from the library board. We did complete the program room on the northwest side of the library. So I think the final touches are just the television screens that will go up. So I do ask the public or the village board even to stop in and see it. It's a very open area, and it does have nice see-through glass. And so it's a very unique space that I think will be kind of an asset to our community. So
Very
it's very
nice.
exciting.
Yeah, very nice.
You can see a pharmacy from it.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to say a shout out to the Hartland Police Department, and our chief just walked out, who also did some, and we saw that in our update, but did some training with the library staff and updated them on some different safety trainings that they needed as they continue to onboard new members of their team. So it was really well received. So that's all.
Anybody else for announcements?
I make the motion, we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. All in favor? Aye. This meeting is adjourned.